So we are going to connect you with experts. We got a bunch of them here. Brian has already revealed himself as a former contracting officer, so we're going to pummel the crap out of him today.
What's new?
So get ready, buddy. We're coming in the ring. We're coming in the ring for you. But we'll be discussing what works, highlighting sponsors and partners. You can't do this alone. The one that we're going to be highlighting today most is going to be samradar.com, because I'm going to be totally selfish. Just not totally selfish, just mostly selfish today. 98% selfish. How about that for everybody? We love participation. Yeah, Steve Kennedy says coming in hot. Yeah, we're playing. Here we're going to share the links and the docs. I'm going to make sure I got this. Boom. Here's the session docs, as well as a discount code for Sam Radar. If you have any questions, just because we're talking about that today, Sam Radar, we love to hear questions. Raise your hand, put in the Q&A. Disclaimer, here we go. Industry, not affiliated with any agency. Participation does not guarantee an award. I know that's shocking for everybody. Peter Timbus, it doesn't guarantee an award. And if you're a Govy, we love Govies. Just right. Former Govies we beat up all the time, right, Brian?
Exactly. Yeah, you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't do that if I was still CEO. Right?
You're probably right.
Nice anymore.
You're probably right. I'd be smooching, butt kissing you. There you go. But it's voluntary. If you're a Govy, it's voluntary. You don't have to buy from anybody here. And this is being recorded. An AI transcription is prohibited. We only do human beings in this place. We're human beings talking to human beings, right, Rafael Marrero?
All day.
All day, all the time, right? All right, so let's get to know each other. Let's see where we are while you're doing that. So have you been around for a little bit, or maybe you're just brand freaking spanking new? We love it any way you do it. And if you have direct contracts or as a sub, or maybe you just don't have any contracts yet, and that's okay too, because that's why we're here. And if you ever been to one of these sessions before, let us know. Love to know how you guys are doing. In the handouts, you will find 2020-23 spending report, as well as the updated 2024 spending report year to date that we ran for Sam Radar. You see capabilities as well as other information in there from each one of us. And your one word for doing business with the government, let me pop this back open. There is an AI. Todd Crane says there is an AI in here. Yeah, we're gonna boot them out. There is no AI. We don't do AI. So if you find the AI in there, we kill them. We're killing AI.
Wow.
There you go. We're not messing around today. Steve Kennedy says rewarding. Deanna says patience. Love that one. Crazy Brian. And slow, intense from Ben. Pain in the ass. Still the best one yet, Gail. Gail's got the best one. Disturbing.
PIA.
What's that?
PIA.
Yeah, PIA. And that's why we're here. Whatever your issues are, hey, that's right, Steve Kennedy. No AI no-go, raging against the machine. That's why we're here. I'm going to introduce the folks that are here. We got Rafael Marrero of Rafael Marrero and Company. He does marketing for contractors, building their federal brand, right, Rafa?
Absolutely.
Got to have a good capability statement. Got to have those briefing decks so you look like you belong. That's do right. Videos and websites and business cards and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, you've got to look the part, and your materials have to really convey the right messaging. Otherwise, the contracting officers like Brian, they're going to swipe and laugh. They're going to go to the next guy. They're going to next.
They might still laugh at us, but
yeah, exactly. Right.
So yeah, if you see this face from your marketing people, they don't know what they're doing. And I do love what you do with capabilities business cards, because it looks like a mini capability statement. So if you need those things, we can have an opportunity later to be able to, or anytime during this session, you can reach out to Rafael. He'll help you. We also have Sally White, the one and only, the only from Echo Wolf, because she has wolves. She literally has wolves.
Yeah, I do have wolves, and hunting.
Not even in sheep's clothing. They're just flat out wolves.
Hunting for federal contracts takes strategy, right? Takes research below Sam Radar, and it takes fierce determination. So we will kill for you. Just kidding.
That's right. I love that. So so we'll be reaching out to each one of these specialists, but also Peter Timbus, who's helped us with funding. Nobody around here needs any money. I don't even know why you're here, Peter.
Show me the money.
What Brian didn't tell you, he saw that Brinks truck going into the agency. Well, it had TFN lending on the side. We got plenty of cash. We got plenty of cash to lend on these government contracts.
That's wild. Your microphone's a little low there, Captain. You might want to check it.
Okay.
So you might want to check that. For those of you who just popped in, here's the session docs. We'll get to those in just a minute. We also have the one and only Brian Hebel as well, former contracting officer.
I'm just making sure to keep you all honest, make sure you don't talk about us.
Yeah, you know we're gonna do it.
We'll give some tips today. I'll tell you where I agree and disagree with whatever's
Just don't ask them about
said today from people that are on, or from the people from the guest, or the people that just were the presenters here too, Dave.
And what'd you say, Rafa?
Just don't ask him about NAICS codes.
What's the next code? Right.
Because then I'm going to read him the riot act.
Codes inside.
we are going to ask that question again because that was the most blunt mind. But hold that back. We're going to get there. I'm going to introduce myself now. I'm going to be selfish. I am going to be on a SAM.gov tutorial today. If you're interested in learning more about SAM.gov, we'll be talking about that. We also run GovBrief, and that's where you can be a subject matter expert. We're actually talking about subject matter expertise later on next week, I think, right, Rafa?
Yeah, on the 17th, we're going to be doing
17th, talking about that.
GovBrief. Yep.
And we do this for industry because we want to help folks understand different aspects of how the federal market applies to you. New one coming up, for-profit grants with Denise B. Lawrence. I just ran through some of the information with her this morning. I'm telling you, there's stuff there for us as contractors. I would have probably, hey, what if I told you, Raphael, that I could have paid for SAM radar with a government grant?
You know, that is awesome, and that's why I'm really intrigued by this new topic that you've been developing, Dave.
I'm telling you, it's going to be cool. And if you haven't answered the question, let us know how long you've been in here. So I'm just telling you, there's good stuff happening there. We also have a call for experts and panelists. Send your information to support@govbrief.us. I know we got several here. Rafa's one, Peter's one, Brian's one, Sally's one. Who else we got? We got Todd, who's on here, who's coming up, right, Todd? You're coming up. And I know Steve Kennedy, I've elevated him multiple times. He just on the fly. So I love the fact he's there. So we will have opportunity tutorial for-profit grants, becoming a government SME with this guy right down here at the bottom with Raphael. We have AI and federal proposal writing, and let's see, is Earlene? I saw Earlene. Is Earlene pop in here too? She is here. I'm popping her open in a minute. We may have include her too because she has got a lot of experience, and this has to do with GSA service contracts. And then we have the doing business sessions. We also have on demands. Antoine Smith killed it. Shauna Weatherly, former Govy as well. Maria Durham, current Govy, right? Right, Brian?
Current Govy.
She's a current Govy. And so just so that you guys know, there's a bunch of stuff there. We also help with SAM Radar. We're talking a lot about that today because Q4 24 is here. We are already here. Q4 started January 1st, right? So here's the hot seat questions. And I'm gonna end this poll because only 58% participated. We got a whole bunch of wallflowers. What is going on today? All right. 3, 2, 1, done. All right, so got that done. So we want to know what's happening there in Q4. We'll be talking about Q4 and how you can understand and influence the acquisition process, as well as the best way to gain a competitive advantage, and everybody tie in on how SAM Radar can help. Before we get started on these questions, though, I want to run through for everybody here. We got some folks that are new. About 14% said they're new. So I want to make sure they understand what we're doing here, right? So Brian, you were a political appointee from the president, right?
No, I was not a political.
You were not.
I was in the trenches.
You were in the trenches.
I was doing real work, Dave. I was in the trenches.
And there you go. But we have the political appointees, and then we have the senior executives, the SESs, right, Brian?
Yep.
Then
Not many,
underneath of them,
15.
you have the program side of the house, and they care about getting the job done. And then we have folks on the procurement side of the house. They care about getting the contract done. Which one were you?
Contract done.
Get the contract done. So you didn't create the needs, right?
Nope.
Nope.
No.
The need came from the program side of the house. They came down on you and said, "Hey, Brian, we want to buy this thing." And if you look in the handouts and the session handouts, you will find the old version of the winnable opportunity matrix. There's a new version coming, and I'm going to do an entire training session on the winnable opportunity matrix, especially the new one that we're doing. So the contracting officer, that's Brian. We're going to be talking a lot about the Brians of the world. There's 77,000 active Brians. Brian is no longer active. He decided to leave, so he's not spending the government's money anymore, are you, Brian?
No, don't email me with that old address, Dave. You probably have it in there somewhere.
I guarantee you I have it.
Got 77,000 email addresses of them.
I got all of them too, baby.
So Sir Spam-a-lot.
So what we were just talking about, the program manager, project manager, whoever's responsible for getting the job done, creates the opportunity with the contracting officer, and ultimately that turns into an award, and we want it to be us. We want it to be you, right? That's what we're here for, right? Everybody's here for this reason, right? So
Yep.
we want it to be us. So here's the question. Q4 is here. Brian, what happens in Q4?
Well, of course, when you look at most agencies, that's where the majority of the spend is. But I would say what happens in Q4 is the program people say, "Oh crap, I haven't got my procurement package," and I just want to talk a little bit about PALT, because if you want to really learn about procurement, PALT is procurement action lead time, and generally in most agencies the procurement action lead time doesn't start until the contracting shop gets the package, right? So the program office can take a long time to get it to the contract shop, and then the contract shop's time frame is shrunk to try to get the award done. So what happens in the fourth quarter from an inside perspective is all the packages, a lot of packages. And the interesting thing about awards is for every award, there's probably 10 contract modifications, at least in the research I do for agencies and stuff that Dave and I do together. When I look at data, at least at my former agency, you'll have 10 mods for every contract. So there's a whole lot going on just beside the new awards. There's a whole lot happening in terms of mods. So all those packages.
Uh-oh.
Frozen. He has his
He froze
hand
up,
out.
Brian.
He has his hand out.
Rate into the contract shop. So there's a whole lot going on.
That's wild, man. You froze up on
Say
us.
again? Oh, I'm sorry.
It's all good. So here's what Brian used to look like when he was younger, and then all his hair fell off.
That's what happened.
That's what happens this time of year, right, Brian?
Yep.
So and let's just walk through. Do you agree with all of these things that this time of year especially, contracting officers are really busy because, like you said, they're already busy with modifications, and that's the stuff that's existing, right?
Yeah, I think that next to last bullet, I'd almost move that up to the top, right?
All right, I will. So
Yeah.
you want the fastest way to purchase. That's the one, and easy and fast is what you want, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to talk a lot about that. So now you used to have meetings with contracting officers, and you're one of the few that did it religiously, right?
Yeah, you mean contractors?
Yeah, contractors. I'm sorry. Yeah. So you met with them a couple times a week, right?
Twice a week.
Yep. So, and would you say that contracting officers are risk averse?
That bottom of the last bullet, yeah, I want to get it done quickly, and risk averse would be quickly and easy, meaning less risk of protest, sure.
Yep. So you're dealing with all those things and getting things through. That's your job. So when it comes to us on the outside, so the way that I would approach this, and actually, Sally, I'm going to ask you, when you're talking to contracting officers, what are you doing to engage contracting officers? How do you do it?
Well, first of all, I don't call anyone or I don't email until I know what's going on. And again, I know it sounds like a shameless plug for Sam Radar, but I really get a lot
For
of
what? I'm sorry. For this?
Sam Radar. So I each day in my email, I get my Sam Radar email and I start researching, and I also do other research. As you know, Dave, I call you and your team to get intel before I go to conferences, before I reach out. So when I contact program managers, contracting officers, I come with some kind of intel. Like, I'm calling specifically about this. May I get your guidance, or et cetera? And I've never found anyone who's not willing to help, because they see that I can call with intelligence. I'm not saying my intelligence, just to be clear. I'm saying with Dave and his team's intelligence, market intelligence. Then what I do after that, once I get them to talk with me, I find, I'm very polite. Do you have a moment? I know you're super busy. It's crazy time. Can I spend 5 minutes of your time? May I have 5 minutes? And I get on the phone with them. And then I also, in parallel, find out who's part of that particular contract. I look on LinkedIn and I do other things to sort of strengthen up my ability to have them be interested in talking to me.
Hold on a second. We got somebody that understands spelling and grammar.
Aha.
Gail says, take out the D.
Yeah, in a verse.
Adverse.
Well, let me just say, that has been in my slides for 15 years.
25 years, and no one has ever.
So Gail,
Well-
so if you're not on Sam Radar, here's a 10% discount code.
Woo, Gail. Gail, if you're an editor, I know people.
Greatest comeback ever. Yeah.
So, and by the way, you can see, hey, I'm on. Gail, I'm on. We changed it just like that. Boy, oh boy. 15 years, Gail. None of these other knuckleheads here saw it.
Not true. Not true.
Not true.
Yep. Not true.
You never said that before.
We
You didn't
did,
want her
and
to
so
feel-
and my slides are also wrong, but we'll fix that afterwards.
Oh no!
Your
I did.
slides and my slides.
Yeah. Besides
All right.
that, my slides are wrong.
All right. So I do like, I love what Steve Kennedy said. First, he said Sean or Weatherly is awesome, and he's right. How many program managers are in the federal government? That's a great question. At least from we could see, there's about 130, 140,000, but we really don't know. There's no list of those, right, Brian?
Yeah, I was just going to tell Gail, don't tell a contracting officer that he spelled it wrong. Don't tell the contracting officer, you won't get the contract.
That's right. So I love that. So we don't know how many, but and the easy button for the KO, that's exactly what we want to be. Also known as the CO, right? CO and KO are the same thing. Contracting officer, but that's in the DOD, right? KO, because the CO in DOD is what, Sally White? Are you paying attention? Or are you multitasking?
I was fixing my incorrect LinkedIn page. I'm so sorry. I'm telling you, I had a typo.
There you were. That's right. Steve Kennedy
CO
says
is
commanding
Commanding
officer.
officer.
Yeah.
And even though Brian thinks he's real important, he ain't the commanding officer.
Nope.
Love the commanding officer.
Don't
Thank you,
want
Steve
to be.
Kennedy.
Don't
Thanks for
want to be.
having my back, Steve
So
Kennedy.
one
Commanding
of the things
officer
I
of the
like to
Nate's
do,
Code
and we
Legion.
talked a lot about this on the Monday roundtables. If you're not familiar with what they are, you're not a Sam Radar user and you're not coming. But we actually talked a lot about engaging the contracting officer and what the contracting officer likes to talk about. Because,
Yep.
so Brian, if somebody comes in, they say, I want you to review all my bits and bytes of my IT program that I write, and I can write in 15 of these different languages and all that stuff. What do you say to them?
I don't know what you're talking about.
That's exactly right. Because Brian's job is to buy that stuff, not to know what it's about. Oh, that sounds like I'm insulting Brian. No, I'm not. Because
You're not.
this is an insult to you that you're an expert in moving this paper? Right here? Right there?
Because our job's just to buy the stuff, right?
That's
We
right.
want to try to-
Experts in moving.
Experts in moving. Oh, is that an insult to me? No, I am an expert in that. That's okay.
That's okay, right? So, and that's really important. Now, when you're moving that paper and you like the purchase, the easiest and fastest way to purchase, sometimes you'll go to maybe GSA, right?
Yep. Specifically, and hopefully, let's ask the question. I don't know how many people know what 8.404F says.
Oh, this is good. Does anybody
Yeah.
know? Don't look it up.
Yeah.
Don't look it up.
Lifeline,
No
lifeline.
Googling. No AI fast crap. What?
We got,
Eight?
we got
What is it
58
again?
people on. Somebody's got to know about 8.44F. Anybody?
8.44F. Does anybody know what the heck that first of all, I want you to hear. He is
Does anybody have a FAR on their desk for that matter?
look at that. He's got turn that sideways so
It's a
everybody can see
laboratory
that.
created oval-shaped diamond.
Turn it sideways.
Oh,
Turn it sideways, the other way, so you can see all the stuff.
Oh,
The other sideways.
He's got little book notes in there and all that
Right.
stuff because he knows and understands the FAR. And then somebody from contracting said, "Did you know what, Brian?"
8.404F. Somebody from industry, actually.
It was industry. One of us.
Yeah.
So we can go to and have conversations, and that's the kind of thing that jazzes folks like Brian.
Yes.
Talking about contracting mechanisms in the FAR. Look at that. What does it
That's
say,
the
Brian?
clause. Nobody on here said.
Nobody knows what that means. What is that?
4F. Yeah. Yeah.
An
Spill the
oval-shaped
beans.
diamond. I looked it up. It's an
spill the
oval-shaped
beans.
diamond.
Spill the beans,
Well,
baby. Tell us what it is.
So 8.404F is right under schedules. And it specifically says if the ordering activity issues an RFQ, the ordering activity shall provide the RFQ to any scheduled contractor that requests a copy of it. Civilian agencies don't post any buy all the time. They don't have to. Contracting officers don't like too much competition, right? That's
What?
the dirty secret.
What?
Really?
They all
Even
say,
if it's-
we put everything out for competition on sam.gov. That's what they say.
Yeah, yeah. But at least in civilian agencies, they'll do limited competition using GSA.
Mhm.
So you have to ask for a copy of it. The FAR says if you ask for it, they shall give it to you. So if you see some
Shall give it to you.
requirements,
And guess what it doesn't say?
I missed that on eBuy. Well, it never showed up on eBuy. They just did a limited.
A limited competition. Folks, we're listening to a contracting officer tell us that they don't like too much competition. And we're going to show you exactly that he's telling the truth. And it says
I know some divisions that. Yeah, I know some divisions at my former agency. All they use is just about GSA, but they never put anything on eBuy. You never
So
see it.
Gail says it sounds like a club with secret documents. You know what? It's not even secret. It's all public documents. But because it's this freaking thick, we don't know everything, and neither do contracting officers. That's the first thing. But it says you shall let the contractor know if they request it. Guess what it doesn't say? It doesn't say it has to be in your SIN.
Mhm.
It doesn't say you have to have that SIN, which is a SIN is a good thing in the government, by the way. It's a special item number.
That's
But
right.
think about this, folks. We can go to contracting officers and say, hey, select that purchasing mechanism. I have a GSA contract, and if you put it out on GSA, it says, you shall let me know. I'm asking for it. And that is protestable. What if you don't have that SIN? Does it help to have that SIN? It doesn't matter if you have the SIN. That's the coolest thing, Fabian. But you have to have a GSA contract, right? That's the rule. Now, not everything goes through GSA, right, Brian?
No.
No. In fact, if you look at all the spending, it's not a bad number, right? It's about between 45 and 50 billion will go through GSA. Not a bad number, especially since all that money's going through a limited number of contractors, right? Right, Rafa?
That's right.
That's a limited number of contractors. So it's not a
Very-
bad thing to have a GSA. I know Steve Kennedy has it, but you're right, Nancy. BPAs and IDIQs instead of GSA. Look at Nancy busting it right out. That becomes one of the fastest, easiest mechanisms you can use, right, Brian?
Yeah, well, like to
Sometimes.
answer that question is like an IDIQ, if it's got too many contractors on it, we're not going to like it. So if let's just say a CIO SP3 versus a GSA, I'd rather do a GSA.
Because you don't like too much competition. And if you put it out there,
I can
you get too
limit it to
much.
6 contractors and send it out to 6, and no, probably 3 of them aren't even going to consider submitting anything in.
Yep. So what you really like, and
But
there's
you can do
10,000 of them.
from a BPA, but a BPA is good. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Dave.
So BPA is good. So what Brian will also we also look at these numbers pretty closely, right, Brian? We've been working on some projects together, right? And we
Yep.
know in the award structure that contracting officers prefer BPAs, specifically for the reason that Brian said. And there's over 10,000 of them, folks. There's over 10,000 of them. And there can be single award BPAs, right, Brian?
Mhm.
That means only one offer received when you see it. So we're going to talk about that some in a few minutes. So,
And then Dave, we have a question in the Q&A. We have wonderful Nelson who's being respectful and asking questions in the Q&A, just like you request people do. So wanted to let you know that. We'll
and pretend that not everybody knows shorthand. That's BPA and IDIQ. I appreciate that. Nelson, thank you very much, Sally, for calling that out. So we will get into one second.
No worries.
BPA blanket purchase agreement and IDIQ is an indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity.
Correct.
Will ISI hold a simplistic up-to-date on the CMMC requirements for companies who want to contract and do business with the federal government? Nelson, I love that. Hold on. Todd Crane. Todd Crane, I'm promoting you to a panelist right now, Todd Crane, on the fly, because Nelson has a question. Will ISI hold a simplistic update on the CMMC requirements for companies who wanted to contract to do business with the government? What is CMMC? Where are you? Todd, you still here? Where are you? I'm promoting you to panelist. I thought I did. At least let me allow you to talk. Are you here, Brian? Are you here, Todd?
Yeah, having a little bit of technical difficulties there. Sorry,
CMMC. First of all, what is CMMC?
CMMC is the new, if you're familiar with the NIST Special Publication 800-171, great. If not, it's a new cybersecurity certification that all government contractors are going to have to get, or at least all DoD contractors, and hopefully soon the entire government, if you're going to be maintaining private government data, right? Like if you work with like an insurance agency, they're going to have special rules that you keep their data safe. This is just the government doing the same thing. They want to make sure that you're going to keep their information safe, whether that's, medical records of troops, whether that's base blueprints, whatever that looks like. They want to make sure that you're keeping it safe. And so now they have new rules of what that looks like.
Cool. And you're going to be presenting on this when?
That is going to be on the 24th.
There you go. So I'm letting you know, Nelson. I'm typing it in there. Everybody can see it as well. Watch GovBrief for Todd presenting on July 24th.
Hey, Dave.
Yep.
I can do a write-up on that for news. So if you invite me to that, I'll definitely, and then I'll interview him, do a nice little write-up.
Todd doesn't want you there.
Hey,
I would love Dr. Marrero there.
So
I mean, if you want
I guess you have permission. I was going to just make sure. I was going to tell you can't come, but Todd said you can't.
I would be honored. That's how you know I'm moving up in the world when the one Dr. Rafael Marrero decides to come to your GovBrief.
There you go. All right, we will get you that. We'll make sure everybody gets that. Just watch GovBrief. I don't think it's up there yet. I think we still got to finish your.
Yeah, I've got a call tomorrow with your team to iron everything else out, and then It should be up there.
All right. Appreciate that, Todd. You can hang around if you want to, because Todd, you're a former Govy too, aren't you?
I am. I played on both sides of the fence.
That's right.
Used to also do with Raytheon as well.
Yep. So he knows a little bit about this process too. So he's an impromptu expert here too. So hot seat question number 2: how can contractors influence the acquisition process? So Rafa, you know a little bit about the acquisition process, and we're gonna beat on Brian if he ever come. There he is, come back. So let me ask you this: who controls the acquisition process? Rafa?
Well, the acquisition strategy is defined by the contracting side of the house. The program managers and the end users have a requirement, and they feed that to the procurement shop, right?
Right.
That's true in the private sector and in the public sector.
Mm-hmm.
So in an effort to define who can provide the best value to the government in this case, right? These studies are done, market analysis, sources sought. and you have to determine if you have two or more qualified entities that can provide a quality product or service at a good price point to the government. And then if they can provide it, then you can set it aside as a small business category set aside or sole source, depending on what you're looking for. And you
Right.
can define the acquisition strategy that, or you can impact it then and there, actually very early on in the game. And that's why it's so important, Dave, to have all of your ducks in a row, to have all of your marketing materials and make sure that all the information that you have readily available on your website, on your DSBS profile, that people can click and download your capability statement, right? All that information, even from your signature block on your email,
Yep.
right? And your business card, everything needs to track so that it's on brand and consistent. You're conveying the right message.
I love
Right.
that. So you mentioned DSBS. What is that?
That's the SBA's database. It stands for Dynamic Small Business Search. Now, at first glance, it's not very impressive looking. However, it's a very, very powerful marketing tool, and it's free, right? Which happens to be your favorite four-letter word.
That's my
right,
favorite
Dave?
four-letter word.
Right. And and this is where they go to do their research, Dave, their first order of business, right? They look up in there, they can search by geo, by area code, by NAICS, and they can narrow down to like 8A certified or Alaska Native corporations or joint ventures with an 8A or whatever. In this district, or if I'm looking for a woman-owned firm or a veteran-owned firm, now that the SBA owns small business certifications, now that the CBE is no longer in charge of veteran-owned and the SBA owns that, all of the certs recognized by the federal government are now monitored there. And so the SBA specific certs are there, your certifications, your professional quals are there, your past performance. This is the place where all of your information must be current, where people look first, right? So
And that's
if yours
that's
looks jacked up, you're in trouble.
and that's the DSBS, which stands for
Yep.
Dynamic Small Business Search, and
Correct.
it's run by the SBA. So
Yes, correct.
and now I'm leaning on Brian again because he's the contracting officer that we talked about. That in your session handouts, this is the winnable opportunity matrix. If you take a look, we want to know about things early, right on the left-hand side there, no days before, and being able to then influence the process. So if we're going to influence the acquisition process, we're going to be talking to folks on the procurement side, right, Brian?
Yeah.
Because that's where the strategy, and that's what Rafa said too. The strategy is going to come from you with your hair on fire right now, and there. So and you've already said some of the ways that you can best influence it, right? So if you take a look now, when we talked about the purchasing mechanism, right? One of those was GSA. We did BPAs and IDIQs, blanket purchase agreements, and definite delivery, right? Vehicles, right?
Yeah.
You also know that sometimes it's easier to buy from a small business than to just put it out for large business, right?
Yeah.
And so you may, if you know that there's companies that can deliver and they're woman owned or service disabled veteran owned, or like Rafa was talking about, the socioeconomic set asides, right?
Mhm.
That's, you actually are going to determine that and it's beneficial to you because it helps you meet some of your agency requirements too, to have small businesses, right?
Yeah.
Which is why you met with them. So when you're creating these contract documents, what do we need to tell you? Like Rafa said it. So he mentioned a lot of things, having it all in order. What do you care most about? Do you care about socioeconomic set asides? We know you don't care about NAICS codes. Why don't you care about NAICS codes, Brian?
There's just not a whole lot of education training. We just pick one and move on.
Oh, listen to that. We just about all lost our marbles when he dropped that on a Monday roundtable.
Hence the 98% never showing up.
That's the 98%. Exactly. So, and we don't because he picks a NAICS code, he's putting it on soybeans or something and buying computers. He doesn't care about the NAICS code. So, and we know that. So what's most important to you then about the mechanism? Do you care about socioeconomic set asides? Is it beneficial for you?
Well, we're going to have to work with the small business specialist, is going to be a step in the process to decide. But in terms of what type of small business, whether it's a woman-owned, hubs-owned, service disabled, veteran-owned, 8A, or a small business set aside, we don't care about that unless there's a push from the agency side that they're not meeting some of their goals. But
Exactly.
once you get in the
Well, that
fourth
happens.
quarter, once you get in the fourth quarter, it's just that next last bullet. Figure out the fastest way to to get it done, because time, most procurements are going to take you, if it's competitive, it's going to take you 3 months, depending on what it is. You're up against the wall now.
Yep.
From that standpoint.
So with this, I'm going to run down a road with the 2-minute challenges from Sam Radar. I know we have Sam Radar people here. So if you want to talk about this, please do. So one of the things we want to do is we want to review our email so that we can contact the buyer. And we're going to ask for one of two things. We're going to either ask for a meeting with the Bryans of the world, or we're going to ask for a referral to the prime that already won. So why are we looking at things that has already won? Why? Because 98% aren't showing up on sam.gov. That's a fact. And you can see it in the report that I have here. These are actually the old numbers. I don't really care. They all look the same pretty much. The vast majority don't have any competition. And while we have a contracting officer here, I want to talk about this top thing, which is based on number of offers received, not reported. What does that mean, Brian?
Usually it's one.
It's usually one.
If it's a zero in that column, it's usually one.
If it's
that's
a
what I would
zero,
guess.
that's right. So that's why we put these together. They're not together by accident. And it's not like there's 640,782 people that are coming in with offers received. That means one. That means that there's no competition on the vast majority. Take a look at that, folks. Take a look. Look at that number. The percentage of contracts, 79%. This is brand new, by the way, and 92% are 5 or fewer. This is exactly what Brian was talking about. They like competition, just what?
Not much.
Not much.
Not much.
And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? We want that too, right? Everybody here, we want that too. So the reason why we're doing this and why we built Sam Radar is that. Right now, it's tracking at about 2.5%. It's going to go down below 2%, and that's why I want to take a look at what this looks like. And I'm literally pulling this up on the fly.
Dave, that chart, just so you know,
Yep.
Gail just wanted to know what kind of industries that particular chart represented. If you can answer that before you move on.
All
industries, Gail.
of them. The only one that it kind of lends a little bit differently is construction, because larger construction projects generally are going out to bid. But let's take a look. Here's an award. Now we'll see this. This one, number of offers, 8. Everybody see that?
Yep.
Where did that land? Most likely. Anybody got an idea?
What do you mean, where's it land?
Where did that show up someplace? It probably showed up on sam.gov, right?
Yep.
Now I want to take a look at this one. I haven't seen these yet today. I want to talk about this one a lot. Here's a contract for just under $1 million. When was it? When was it, ladies and gentlemen? 4 days ago?
Yep.
Number of offers received, not reported. So let me ask you a question. How many people would like to have this, and how many people think that this contractor, Floor, that's a big construction.
Floor, yep.
Floor, that's a big construction
That's
company.
a big construction firm. Yep.
That's right. How many people would say that they helped them set the budget at $1 million?
Oh yeah.
Well, 998,309. I mean, wow.
And so that's when I look at this, I'm like, okay, so now we want the 2-minute drill is we want to reach out to Michael Bonds with FEMA. How many of us want FEMA? Business with FEMA, right? We want to talk with him. How did that happen? What contract vehicle did you use? Hey, can I have a referral to Floor? Why? Floor? How many people work for Floor? Anybody idea? I don't have any idea. I'll bet it's how many want to think it's more than
It's tens of thousands, Dave, because we were 20,000 and they were bigger than us.
that's
So,
right.
Yeah.
So tens of thousands.
Yeah.
So what we need is we want a referral from Michael to Floor.
Hmm.
And that is a low risk ask. So we can use Sam Radar to do both things. We can ask for a meeting with, who is it? Michael. We can ask for a
Michael.
meeting with Michael, and we can ask for a referral from Michael. And that can happen in 2 minutes. So I'm going to ask this, and then we're going to get on to the next question. I promise I will. Hold on. I need my poll.
So as you're doing that, Dave, I just wanted to let you know, I looked up Michael Bonds. I have 12 mutual connections. So do you. And so in addition to asking for that meeting in the email, you could also connect with him on LinkedIn because he's on LinkedIn.
I agree. So that's another way, right? So there's multiple avenues in here, right?
But I would have known ever in 1,000 years that I had 12 mutual connections with Michael Bonds, MBA DSL contracting officer for FEMA, had I not have learned that on Sam Radar, just to be super clear.
Because there's way too much stuff to look at, right?
How would I
Sally?
know? Like, why would I ever look at Michael Bonds? Like,
You wouldn't. All right.
but
So
I did now.
so this kind of gives us an idea of where we're headed, and we got about 6 or 7 minutes left to get through this part. Hot seat question 3: what's the best way for contractors to gain a competitive advantage? Now we just saw one. We're going to repeat that in just a minute because I'm going to show you how to do this using Sam Radar in a minute. But I'm going to throw this out. If you're looking at this, and Peter, you've been very patient and quiet. You also have a way for contractors to gain a competitive advantage, especially in a bid process, to show what? What do you want to show contracting officers?
Want to show them that you've got the financial capability to perform on a contract should they award it to you. So once you've identified opportunities that you want to go with, we'll be happy to supply you with that financial responsibility, which is called a letter of financial support, which can accompany your bid when it goes to the contracting officer. So that's one of the criteria that the contracting officer will look at is your financial capability, and we will alleviate that problem immediately.
So what Peter's saying, this is what I love about Peter. He's not a bank, but he understands federal contracting for many, many years, and he knows the risk level of somebody that's newer, maybe a little bit of work in the federal government, right?
Correct.
Maybe as a sub.
Correct.
And maybe you're an 8A firm that
Correct.
is like $1 million 8A firm, and you win you want to bid on a $10 million deal, and you may even have the capacity to do it because of your ability to manage it. But the government's going to look at you and say, how are you going to run this thing? Right?
Well, a lot of the contractors won't bid on an opportunity because they either don't have a line of credit or they have a line of credit, but the opportunity is going to take them beyond their line of credit. So they don't want to bid on it because they can't operate it. What we do is we lend to the opportunity. We do get your financial statements. We look to see what you've done, but it's only a snapshot. We take a look at management, and if we feel comfortable with that, we will give you the line necessary to operate on that contract. That's why we call it lending to the opportunity. It's lending out the windshield versus banks lending the rearview mirror. And as I stated, banks lending in the rearview mirror is like driving around all day in reverse.
I love it. So, and here we're talking about opportunities, and we don't want to ignore opportunities either, right? But we still want to gain a competitive advantage. We talked about looking at, it's actually in the rearview mirror. Hey, this is an award, but we want to prepare the next award, or we want to work with the prime with a particular contract win. In this instance, we're looking forward at opportunities coming through sam.gov. I'm gonna show you this because included with this in Sam Radar, in that 2-minute challenge, we want to find the right opportunities and we want to get to know fast. Why do we want to get to know fast, Rafael Marrero? Why should we care about getting to know when why? Because
Well, time is money at this stage of the game, right?
Yep.
And you need to know, because if you don't find out before someone else, they're going to beat you to the punch, and time is of the essence, right? That's important.
So that's the first thing, to know about it fast. So you
Right.
want to know fast, and you want to be able to review it quickly so that you can find the right opportunities.
Correct.
Because there's a bunch of things that come out of NAICS codes because people like Brian don't care about NAICS codes, and they're putting things in weird places, as we know. But even in our NAICS codes, they wind up being not for us. They're not in our wheelhouse because NAICS codes are very broad. But maybe our focus is little. So I will be talking about SAM.gov today. I told you I was going to be selfish today. I'm pumping everything. I'm pumping everything that I got. SAM.gov today at 1 p.m. on GovBrief. You can find it there.
We can still register. We can register now.
You can register now. You can still register now.
Okay.
So-
I'm going to register now.
Okay, you can register now. Fantastic. So with that, I also want to talk about the 2% that are on SAM.gov, because we have the opportunity we already talked about asking for a meeting. We'll talk about that again, but I want to show you one more thing about the way that SAM.gov works as it associates with SAM Radar. Here, we're seeing them as they hit. So Rafa, you nailed it, right? How do we gain a competitive advantage by knowing sooner? Because as we get to September, Brian, you keep coming and disappearing. You all right there? I don't know if he's still there or not. But when we get to September, what happens with the time frames? Everybody want to throw in?
Oh yeah. September. Well, they need it's use it or lose it time, right, Dave? And if they don't spend it by September 30th, they get double whacked, right? They lose that money plus October 1st, that same amount.
That's exactly right. So they're going to spend their money. Let me get rid of this poll real quick so I can actually see my screen. Appreciate you guys. We'll make sure you get what you need.
We might actually be trying to figure out. Yeah, we might actually be trying to figure out what to do with money that was left over from another procurement in September.
Oh,
Yep.
because that happens too.
$10 million slated for procurement.
Yeah, you could have.
For 8.5, you got $1 million you got to spend.
So they're going to find ways to spend the money, and the timelines really shrink. In fact, they shrink down to 24 hours once you get into late September, right, Brian? Because you gotta spend the money. So here we can just go through and say, do I care? Do I care? Do I care? Oh, here's an IDIQ for sources sought for architectural and engineering services, crazy freaking stupid NAICS code because everything's there for engineers. We can quickly go here, and guess what we don't have to do? We don't have to log into SAM.gov to see it. So that's the main reason why we built this part into SAM Radar, to say, I care about opportunities, yes. I care about opportunities in our wheelhouse, yes. And I care about things, especially when they are sources sought, RFIs, requests for information. That gets us ahead of the opportunity, and we can get ourselves positioned. This happened last year, we had a sources sought for VA on the 27th that was due on the 28th. They competed it on the 29th, and they awarded it on the 30th of September. Sources sought for 1 day, and then it was a solicitation for 1 day, and it was awarded by the end of September. We're going to see these things happen, and that's why we need to know about everything as quickly as possible. And you might even have written the scope of work. This happened years ago with HHS. We did some work with, it was Department of State. And it was released on a Sunday morning at 10 a.m. It was due on Monday morning at 10 a.m. If you didn't see it, there's no way. There's no way you could turn that around, even if you knew about the scope of work. So we want to do both. We want to watch for those opportunities, and then we also want to say, hey, we want to have the long game. Because guess what happens? What happens, Todd Crane, you're still here. You still there, Todd?
I am. I can't turn my video. You gotta name
Oh, you can't turn your video on? Oh, I know why that is. Because I didn't make you a co-host. Now you're a co-host. So Todd Crane, everything stops after September 30th, right? Everything
Absolutely.
stops. It's
And then-
all over. There's no
and-
more federal government.
Yeah, they just they close up, they pack everything up and go home, and the end of the government, right? I'm sure that's
What
what
happens-
like people on CNN or Fox News would love to make you think, or at least that's what happened in November, right? But
That's
no,
right.
the government's going to keep on rolling. It doesn't matter red or blue in the White House; they're still going to spend money.
They're going to spend money. On October 1st, it's going to happen again. So my question is, do you need help monitoring opportunities? And if you want the fastest way, you want Sam Radar, where you can review your email, find the opportunities fast, also get to know fast. If you talk to anybody about grinding out RFPs in September, you don't have time to do everything, neither does your competition. So get to the ones you think you can win and engage the buyer. Ask for the meeting, ask for referrals. Know that folks have their hair on fire right now. It's already started. Their hair's on fire already. The Bryans of the world, their hair's on fire. So when you sign up, just so you know, continual support. A lot of folks, I know, Todd, you've been on the Monday roundtables. What do you think of the Monday roundtables?
It's the greatest place to network with other people that are trying to do business with the government and
Yep.
people that can help you do business with the government.
Yep. And Todd knows because he's there all the time. A lot of times he's there twice. It's on Mondays. It's at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. And we also talk about how you can engage and you can lock in your savings on sam.gov. You got 83 days left. We got to get moving. But we don't have to panic, right? What Todd said, because October 1st, what happens, Todd?
New budget, new opportunities.
Or at least a continuing resolution.
And Dave Gregory Lau's asking, are there replays? I have a pre-scheduled meeting and of this meeting. He wants to know if there are replays.
For this thing?
Yeah.
Gregory?
Do we replay it? I can't remember if we sent out the.
Gregory, you're talking 09 Pacific. That's not. It's 10%. 10.
10. Yeah, but there are
Eastern Standard
replays.
Time. 10 and 2 Eastern Standard Time. That's when the meetings happen.
Yep. And Gregory, yes, they're all recorded, and we distribute those out along with the chats that happen, because a lot of times there's cool stuff happens in the chat too.
Very cool. Yeah.
So I really want to thank everybody for today. I want to thank Brian. First of all, thanks Rafa for being here. Always great. You want to join me today again at 1?
Yes, sir. In fact,
cool.
Dave, I'll have to leave briefly for the news, but then I'll jump back on. Okay.
All right, cool.
Yep.
I know you have to blow out to talk to the national media people.
Sorry, man.
So there you go. I'm gonna make sure also in the chat. Where's my freaking chat? There we go. That the session docs. This has the session docs from today. Sally, thanks for joining us from Echo Wolf. Crazy good at events and social media and LinkedIn especially. Right, Sal?
That's correct. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to meet 60 plus 70 people at one time. Wow.
Yeah, awesome. Hang on a second. Somebody's got an attendee we'll answer your question. 1 second, Nancy. Give me a second and we'll get to you. I promise. Thank you, Peter, for joining us. I always love your insight, especially when it comes to being able to help folks with the contracting side and being able to handle their world. Awesome.
We've got plenty of money to lend. I'd like to put out 30 or 40 million for your clients in the next 90 days.
There we go. Reach out. We'll give you an opportunity. Let me get rid of this. In fact, I'm going to open up the next poll so we can get that done while everybody's here. 1 second.
See you, Dave. I got to roll.
All right, you got to roll.
Having me.
Thanks, Brian.
Bye,
That's
Brian.
Brian Hebel. And you can check out things there. So if you need professional help, not from sitting and listening to us for an hour, but that's Brian.
Long sleeve shirt. No wrap.
And you can join me for the session today. I just launched the poll for everybody. Nancy, Nancy Pavis, you have your hand up. Can you unmute for a second? And I'll answer Nikita. How do you advise contracting about previously lost bids up for renewal? Great question, Nikita, because guess what? They're recompeting contracts too.
Yep.
And in fact, we're going to be talking about the ones for commerce with Brian Hebel and some of his cohorts. You there, Nancy? Go ahead.
Yes, I am. So I wanted to ask you what I noticed, because IT is my technology, is my space. And I just noticed, I had this happen the other day too, that they said that they use a lot of contracts, like, for example, NASA Soup
Yep.
and all of that. So how do I answer on, how would I answer on that when I don't have that contract or GSA besides a BPA? But you know, they want to do a lot of technology on those contracts, those big ones.
In fact, you mentioned NASA Soup, right? SEWP, for those of you who have no idea what she's talking about. And so it is actually the #1 IT contract in the federal government. It is eclipsed everything that GSA does, because NASA Soup is one of the best run, most effective contracts. We met with Joanne Wojtek on VFedCon, remember, Sally and Rafa?
Yeah, absolutely.
She's a rock star.
Rock star.
And so that's a problem, right? Because it makes it easy for contracting to buy, right? That's the problem, Nancy, is they have other vehicles that you don't have, and you can't get on, right? Because NASA Soup is closed. Soup 6 has already been done,
Yep.
right? So you can either #1 team with the prime, right? That came through, or #2, see if there's things that fall out of that contract where you can then develop a BPA. To your point, that would be a direct award with you. Does that make sense?
Yes. And the other thing I wanted to ask is that we had looked into getting a contract because it's coming up for renewal. Now, so Soup 6, I think. One part of it, the CMMI, the cheapest I could find is $45,000. And as a small business, that's a lot of cookies, you know?
Yes, it is. And there's definitely better ways, other ways to do it. Todd, would you like? I'm going to say no. Just check out Todd's session. We actually have 2 different CMMC sessions coming up. EC First is coming up with theirs. Todd is coming up with his. And the idea is to mitigate and minimize some of those costs. I think you'll be happy. You'll be pleasantly surprised, right? Right, Todd?
Dave, so she's actually talking about something different. CMMI is different than CMMC. In fact,
CMMI.
That's why CMMC used to have 5 levels. It was because it's modeled after CMMI. CMMI is actually a looking at how mature your software development practices are.
Exactly.
Got you. I'm
And so
sorry,
it's
Nancy.
really different than cybersecurity stuff. Yeah.
I got my acronyms messed up. I will do some research for you on CMMI, Nance. Cool.
Would appreciate that. Thank you. In the meantime, have any of you heard, though, if in the technology arena, though, that they do outside of those different contracts? NASA Soup is just one of them. There's quite a bit.
Oh yeah. Well, NASA Soup does about, I think, 17, 18 billion, right? And GSA does another probably 12.
I want to say Schedule 70.
It used to be Schedule 70. They changed it. It's now
That was the IT. Yeah, that was the IT.
IT 70.
Yep.
All right, guys, if you got to run, that's great. Earlene, we're going to be talking about the services, actually, GSA services with Earlene coming up. Sorry I didn't get to you, Earlene, but it's awesome. So real quick, to answer your questions, there's always a way. Contracting officers will find a way to buy from you if they like you. So that becomes the mission. The mission becomes, hey, build the relationship. So being able to, #1, watch what's happening. 2, engage that buyer and build that relationship so that the Bryans of the world will look and say, Nancy's a pretty decent person. I'd like, this stuff could run through Soup, but I like the way Nancy thinks, and I want to help her get in, help her manage the process a little bit. So let's give her, it won't be a $10 billion deal, Nancy, but it could be 5 million.
I'll take that.
Absolutely. I think most of us will, right?
Then I'll just go to Raphael.
Yeah. Sold.
That's right. Boom.
Always the
All
right
right.
answer.
All right, guys. Well, we
That's right,
appreciate
always the
you.
solution.
Thanks, everybody.
We appreciate
Thank
you
you.
being here. Anybody that answered a poll and asked for something, you'll get calls from the respective people. Please feel free to check out Sam Radar and see it in works the way that it works for you. You'll be able to see exactly what we're talking about here. $1.3 million awarded when? Yesterday, not reported. That's what we do. That's why we do it. And that's why it's important. And if you want to come to the sam.gov tutorial, if you have Sam Radar, you don't need to do this. Just saying. There you go. We'll get everybody out of here. And is that the last? That was it. That was the lower hand. There we go. And I don't think we have any other questions. Great stuff, guys. Sally, great. Awesome. Appreciate you as usual.
Thank you so much. Have a great week, everybody. Good to see you. See you on Monday.
All
Woo!
right, guys. See you on Monday.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
All right, Rafa. See you in a few.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Bye.